Whereas Monki, he is cracked on this champion, so it really does change things up. You can see right here, a lot of those standard bans taken away. It is actually going to be the Scion as that first pick for Cube, and Cube really has just been looking best on these big tanks that can buy space for Taeyoon. That is very much his job. He's not really a carry top lane player for us at the moment.
Yeah, it just taking out the Chonk Supreme in the Scion. You'd love to see that gauntlet thrown down. Sheer going to have to answer. They do have the 1-2 punch of that red side pick. They're going to go ahead with the Xin Zhao early to give Shadow some prio, give him some skirmish potential. And they're going to go ahead and pair that up with the Talia in mid lane for care. Something that I've really loved from this guy as well. And something that provides him so much utility to the team.
Absolutely it does, and it just stops a lot of these heavy dash-based champions from feeling anywhere near as easy to pick up. As we just saw hovered, Karis really has been liking that Ahri. I don't know how much you really want to be playing it right there into the Talia. WE instead going to go towards something aggressive, and this is what I was hoping for. I think Taeyoon's been looking very good on the Varuses and the Ezreals, but I think he's been looking his absolute best on these much more aggressive style champions. And when you've already got yourself a Scion, that's a lot of your frontline already completed. Let's see if you get the rest of the dive composition through though, because often we've been seeing this Kai'Sa paired up with things like the Xin Zhao or the Vi, both of which are no longer available.
Yeah, I do love giving over the kind of hands check to Taeyoon on this Kai'Sa though. Give the guy the chance to carry, and he will absolutely pay off for WE. It's also going to be the Pantheon. So we're getting a couple steal aways here from some comforts from FPX. Not only that Kai'Sa is something that we've seen Assume really go for, but the Pantheon also tried and true nature of Shadow now being used against him on the Xin Zhao pick.
We had such a long time of so many interesting top lane matchups, and now we've got Scion Ornn back again.
Ornn, baby.
I'm genuinely happy about it. I've missed our just straight up meat shields in the top lane, getting involved later on. Yeah, I love it. I love a wet noodle fight. That's one of my favorite things to be able to watch. And I think in this situation, I like the Ornn. You can look over at WE's composition and go, they need to play in the first 10 to 50 minutes of this game, and if they fall behind, well, you've got the Scion getting very tanky later on. We'll see if there's going to be any good Trank Shred coming out of FPX. But at the same time, their composition from FPX looks so much better in the later stages, especially with those ornaments coming through.
I'm really curious at the kind of glue that's going to be supplemented with the support picks going forward here, as we're in the second phase of things now. The Misfortune ban from WE to focus on that 2v2 matchup, try to take away any primary kind of win conditions for FPX down there, and it will be that mid lane focus of the Rise and the Victor by FPX.
I think FPX have looked much, much better when they've been able to pick themselves up these front-to-back, later scaling compositions. They like to play very standard teamfight-orientated comps, and right now they've got some good bones for that available. Be interesting to see if they do want to go towards a more aggressive, earlier game champion. We've seen the Lucian hovering on the edges at the moment, or if they just want to go grab themselves something like the Jhin, Aphelios, Jinx, any of those to get later on into the game. This kind of bridges the gap between the two. Very surprising to see somebody be able to actually grab it for themselves in the second round. Usually it's either B1'd or banned.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. I'm really interested now which version we get of it. Maybe the poke coming through. Maybe we get that on-hit style. I think that's going to have a lot to do as well with the support that we get from them. Yeah. But WE, they're going to round out their composition. They're going to go ahead with the Sylas. So some extra mobility, some good tools to steal, and the Nautilus.
It's the Vampire special. He picks this champion up the majority of the time. Now, not all of the performances have been looking excellent with this one, but recently been on a massive upswing. Braum. Interesting that the Braum wasn't a thought potentially for WE. It wouldn't really fit with the full dive composition, but into the Ornn, into the Talia, even into the Varus actually would have been looking really good. Instead, they're going to go to the Renata. I like that a lot. This champion does so well into heavy dive-based compositions, of which WE have drafted themselves kind of a prototypical variant.
Yeah, I think the Sylas is an interesting addition into it, but still has that extra mobility to get in there and have that kind of follow-through with the engage potential. But really, I'm happy that WE are setting up Monki and Taeyoon to be this big factor. I mean, Vampire, obviously, on the Nautilus going to have a lot of impact there. But if we're looking at two guys who have been able to answer the call for WE when it matters most, especially in that last series against Weibo, it was Monki, it was Taeyoon, it was Vampire. So they're trying to lean on that momentum that they gained from taking those wins, much like FPX is.
Absolutely, and these compositions really couldn't be more different overall. FPX very much looking to front to back. They've got a lot that can stop WE's full dive composition, whereas WE, yeah, they are all looking to fly into the backline, and that's so exciting. Taeyoon has been looking great recently, and the fact that he's got this Kai'Sa, I think that's kind of becoming a signature pick for the guy in this split at least. If he can get himself fully into the backline right here, be able to dodge away from the Xin Zhao, that's going to look so good, but it is hard to do into both the Taliyah and the Renata. They can stop a lot of what you're trying to lay down.
And that's where we can talk a little bit more about the specifics as well. For FPX, it has really been about their solo lanes. I think Care has truly stepped into his own in FPX. I mean, not only is he really the pillar that this team is built around, but he has also been that developmental piece for so long for FPX, and finally paying off the resources given to him, I feel like, in this team, and especially in this comeback win streak. But we're headed off into game number 1 of our first best of 3 of the night. We got 2 of them back-to-back, so make sure you lock in. But this is a battle of the mid-table in Group Ascend. Can WE join the ranks, or is FPX just that much better?
FPX, that 3-game win streak, all of their available wins coming in a row. It's just going to mean so much for them to be able to keep this up. See, right now, Monki actually pushing forwards. Shadow gonna spot him out, gonna be spotted out in turn. So let's see where everybody actually starts, because there are a lot of pings going on towards the top side right now. It looks like actually WE fully want to commit to just trying to play right here. Oh, sheer. Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Walk into the bush, and he's in a lot of trouble. CC chain from hell, and Sheer will bite the dust. First blood for WE.
So, Mazel, I was ready, you know, to start my points with, you know, you've got yourself this Pantheon, you're going to need to play early, very important to get a couple of kills, otherwise this champion falls off, doesn't give you too much in the later game. Those points are now ruined. They've already got themselves that initial kill. It isn't going to turn into any real benefit right now. You know, you don't manage to steal away any of your opponent's jungle. You don't get to go back to base and spend any of that gold. But once those first recalls come through, and you're already in a good spot here as Monki, this is exactly what W need for their main driving force of the team.
Exactly. And using some of Shadow's own medicine against him. We'll see, though, as I'm very side-eye looking at that 2v2 and bot side. Both having lethal tempo, both very interested on how this 2v2 can pan out. I will say, though, junglers will be on that kind of at least interesting path setup for WE side of things after Monki went for that early blood. And we'll see exactly where they want to focus on early. Do you have any lanes that you're really particularly looking for them to go to?
I think for these junglers, really, bot lane's the only major option. Mid lane could potentially turn into solo kills or interesting gank options. Specifically for the side of FPX, because Karis is just going to be having to step so far forwards if he wants to be able to keep up the farming. A lot of poke can come through from the Taliyah, but it very much feels like these bot lanes are going to be the place where there's a lot of scrapping going on, a lot of interest, and especially when you've got yourself Xin Zhaos and Pantheons, those champions can dive incredibly effectively if either of these supports ever decide to go roaming around to try to help out their junglers on other objectives.
We'll play a little bit of vision there. I like to see it from Monki, as now Vampire goes for the engage, but Taeyoon a little bit off-center from that one. Vampire wasn't the initial focus, but now has to flash out Jwei, also getting very low. Sub 100 health there for the Enchanter support in the setup, so that just means that W will take advantage.
The amount of damage that came through there from those plasma stacks, the second that you get that fifth one down is huge. This would be a very Monki play right here.
In both senses of the word. His name and also a little wild.
We'll see if it works out, right? If it works out and you manage to get yourself another kill this early on, brilliant pathing decision. As it stands, he is just going to back out. I think that's the right decision. Shadow going top. Interesting.
Oh, flash out from Cube. He's going to try to get away and does do so. Flash definitely going to be returned to, but Shadow trying to get his own influence on the map. It will just be the early Scuttle Crab trade from both junglers.
Things so far so good for both of these teams. W obviously going to be a little bit happier because they were able to pick themselves up that initial kill. Still, the recall has not come through yet. We've got 40 seconds until the Drake is going to spawn. Ocean Drake early on, especially when you've got these very tanky top laners, that would be a huge thing to be able to pick up for either of these teams. I can imagine the Drake going to have slightly higher priority than usual. That being said, we have always seen that the Grubs have the slightly higher priority overall. Teams love being able to pick themselves up that first 3.
And we see that with the early lane adaptation from WE. Already preemptively moving super early over to the top side with Taeyoon and Vampire, but they realize not only with the passive plasma stacking that they can get so quickly with how much CC they have on their team, but just the outright composition they have very strong around this Grub fight. It feels does look like FPX are going to be a little bit more relaxed on these early objective takes.
And the thing with the composition WE have got for themselves, if they've got 2 semi-globals right here, where you can just get involved from all across the map, you do at least have the Talia for yourself as FPX to try to get back involved. You can go match with the Scion somewhere else, use the Weaver's Wall to come and join up. But the thing with the Weaver's Wall is it's so much better when you can already be at the fight and use it to cut your opponents off rather than just using it as a pure map mobility tool. So trying to match 2 different champions that can move around the map so quickly, so effectively from WE is going to be a pretty tough ask for FPX.
I do really like this from FPX, though. I've been really interested at teams' willingness to kind of sneak the dragon right before the Grub spawn. Now the next question becomes if they want to go contest over the Grubs and at least take away maybe one of them. But there is a roaming death squad going around by WE right now.
Absolutely there is, and with the Scion sat down in the bottom lane in that 2v1, perfectly comfortable in this situation. You've got so many members of WE up in this top side, I really don't know if you can even try to pick yourself up a Grub. Stealing one here is possible, but you're pretty much guaranteed to be trading it for your life.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. I guess that gives us a little bit of time to check in on kind of those win conditions later going on. We talked about how the comps work a little bit, but I do feel like there is some good scaling on both sides of things.
Yes. It's not this situation that we often see teams with the Pantheon in, where it's like, you fully indexed into the early game. There is absolutely nothing that you can do later on. That's very much not true, and part of it is because you've got this Scion who can just get so unbelievably tanky in the later stages of the game. You've pretty much forced Assume right here into going on hit Varus, and that's a big risk for Assume. Getting yourself that close. Oh, hang on.
Oh, Care. Going to dodge out of the abscond of Duck. Now going to flash away from Monki. So Care down his flash. Just got his Weaver's Wall back in there. And I think he actually got CC during that initial cast of it.
Yeah.
So trying to now pick away the pieces of this mid lane. WE were looking for it in a nice combination from Monki, Karis, and Vampire.
Just need to be roaming around like this. This is exactly what you want to see from Vampire. You're very unlikely to do too much roaming right here as the Renata, and because you had the Scion in that 2v1 for a while, it really unlocks Vampire to go across the rest of the map. You're not worried about what Taeyoon's getting up to on the rest of it, and it's nice to see them being proactive. Even though it doesn't result in the kill, you've got the flash away from this Talia. Now gonna need to track to see if Monki returns back to that lane within the next couple of minutes to really pay that one through and get themselves that kill. That should be pretty easy to get if K even mispositions slightly.
Yeah, there's been a couple flashes burned on either side, but no real big responses to them. There's now Shadow going on towards bot side. Still a little while till the next spawn of the objectives, but they have a play. WE unsuspecting hail of arrows is going to hit. The slowdown comes through. Vampire going to Spider-Man his way out. The wind becomes lightning. Vampire going to flash. Handshake hits. They might have enough damage here. Vampire going to get his life staked from him. Assume finds that kill, and that'll be the return from FPX.
That was really nice played right there from Jwei. Was able to get that handshake. When he flashed forwards, I was slightly worried that he wasn't going to be able to pick up the kill for the team. The fact you're able to kill Vampire right here is just such a nice early look out of this squad, and giving the kill over to Assume, exactly the member that you want to be getting towards those item breakpoints as quickly as possible.
And I think that's some of the combinations that we've really enjoyed seeing. From FPX. They had kind of a clear plan in place for that one. Get a play on bot side, try to commit there, and they do well enough to get that kill back to them and even things up in that regard. But still about a minute and a half till the next spawn of Grubs. FPX definitely do not want to give over Grub again to WE.
No, giving away all 6 right here would feel so bad. They've got a composition do WE where it's pretty short range, but the second that they do actually get on top of these towers, can just melt through them, and really would benefit a lot from having 6 of those grubs. I'm gonna see... Actually, that's a missed time from Sheer. I think that kills him.
Oh, Sheer's in a lot of trouble now as well. You're gonna have a lot of damage down.
Okay.
Flash is burned. He's going to have enough time to potentially get back before that dragon, or at least the grub spawn. The dragon also going to be close to that grub spawn on the other side of things, but definitely going to be missing that flash for Sheer.
Lack of flash right there, and it's a really tough time as the Ornn here, because you've got yourself that W to be able to stop getting knocked up by Q, but you have to know exactly when it's going to go through, and Sheer just used it a little bit too early on. Gets knocked up, like I said, losing the flash. We'll see if it ends up hurting him later on.
So, I gotta ask, we got level 6s for everybody in this next fight.
Yep.
No real adaptation to that side, but does this kind of level 6 mark benefit either side more?
It's going to be benefiting WE that little bit more, because they've got those extra globals that they can move around with.
Dude, Care
okay?
cannot get off a Weaver's wall. That's multiple, he's gotten stunned.
It's rough out here, right here for Care. He just isn't able to step up to any of these waves like he wants to at the moment. You know, it's not resulted in too much of a deficit. He's only down by about, what, 10 CS or so? But still, it's a little bit of one beginning to form, and if this continues, it's going to get worse and worse right here for FPX's mid laner, as the members of WE get stronger and closer to being able to just one rotation his very squishy Talia down.
Yeah, it's wild to me that out of everybody in this game that has a CS advantage, it's Sheer that has like a 20 CS advantage over Cube on the Ornn. But it is WE that are looking to even up the Dragon score here. The early stacking will not be the case for FPX. Vampire just takes the engage. They have left the Dragon to just kill Jwei, but now they've overextended themselves, and this is a fight that FPX want all day. Shadow is making mincemeat of him. Taeyoon, with that super carry mentality, tries to even things up, but FPX, they find a double kill for Shadow, and they'll take that Dragon.
So, when you asked which team gets the benefit from having their level 6s available, that was under the assumption that they might be used in and amongst any of these fights. In the straight-up fight where you're just in close quarters combat, not using any of these mobility tools around, it's just nowhere near as effective. The full jump on Jwei is nice, but it's that 3-man seismic shove that we get to see right there out of Care that just completely wrecks everything. Shadow's ulti as well does so much for keeping him alive throughout this fight, and the fact that you then manage to pick yourself up the Drake on the back side of it before anybody even looks at the grubs is massive here for FPX.
I mean, absolutely. They will take that all day.
Oh, WE.
And now Monki gonna go into a blind bush, has to immediately flash away. Is not gonna get too far from them, but still gets away from that hostile takeover that was used. And WE reeling a little bit, not much, only 1,000 gold difference, but we do have first items coming up, and WE gonna start up this next spawn of grubs, but it's on to Assume, gonna flash out, big abduct coming through, and Karis now maybe able to get the 1 kill back. It's gonna be Vampire, he's gonna be taken down in the end by Assume, and now the follow through on Taeyoon, and he is also going to fall. Didn't even need the Ornn Horn, but using it anyways. FPX taking advantage of WE on the Rift right now.
Yeah, you're going to be able to pick up 1 of those grubs whilst all of this was happening as Monki, so at least you get 4 of them. But it's just way over-aggressive in that fight. I don't know necessarily that that was one of those plays that you wanted to land there as Karis, because it pulls him so far underneath everybody else.
I'm just so interested that this... Like, we're starting to see some of the difference between these two teams. We were asking, like, what both of them are on. Big win streaks. FPX's opponents have definitely been better. Is that this FPX kind of the real deal after starting 0-4 to get the season started, and now able to pick up the slack WE's putting down and have been able to capitalize multiple times on this very strong composition. And now Shadow just feels like a demon. Care finally gets the Weaver's Wall off. It was a perfect one as well, but Vampire able to get away with the Blast Cone.
Blast Cone Gaming right there. FPX now, they're a little bit pinched in. Actually, they're just going to be able to bully their way out.
Okay, maybe they just catch Monki too.
What?
You can't move, sir. freeze and stay still as he slowly is not going down. Finally dies. Assume trying to chase down Taeyoon in the 1v1. Meanwhile, Shadow also falls. Some kind of catastrophic meltdown just happened in that fight. They couldn't take down Monki for the longest time. And now Cube coming over with the unstoppable onslaught, taking down Assume. They don't get the knock up on a Jwei. That'll be all she wrote. But what a play and a little bit of series of comebacks from WE.
Bit of a mess of a play right there, but you do manage to pick up a couple of kills. Unfortunately, the majority of those kills went to Vampire during that set of plays, so you don't even get the gold onto any of these key carries. Not the case for FPX on any of their return kills. And I mean, dang, that fight had the poor observer on skates right there. I mean, did not know where to look because there were fights across all fronts.
And that's the wild part about this, is kind of that cleanliness. It's definitely not there. We said not to be looking for it. I cannot believe Monki survived for so long here.
Yeah, Monki should be dead here about 6 different times, but Jwei walks up to go find Assume, try to help him out, and that allows Monki to survive for a while, pick up that return kill, and then this is just a good unstoppable onslaught. It kind of hits the wrong person. Cube then has to flash to go and actually find the correct member, but it's just a good use of that global ulti to be able to stop this play in the end, pick up 1 return kill, and it has brought the gold back down to pretty much even, a small couple hundred advantage right here for FPX, just before we get the Rift Herald spawning.
Consistency was always the key factor in this one, and neither team exactly being that consistent factor just yet. But we are going to be seeing the next Rift Herald spawning in about 15 seconds as well. We're going to be getting closer to second items. Is there a break point here for either side, looking at those kind of scaling items coming to fruition?
Very much so, especially for WE. The point at which you get 2 items on Monki, 2 items on Taeyoon, that is where you are really looking to just press the go button. Your composition does not get stronger than that until we're 47 minutes into this game, everybody's full build, and Cube has 17,000 health. That's the point at which this composition then gets to be back online. So they are very, very close right now at WE to needing to be proactive.
Oh, FPX are the ones trying to be proactive. They initiate the fight as well as TP in care. Rift Herald started up by them. Monki gonna hover around. Grand Starfall coming in. They want a mid lane. Assume is the target. He's gonna dodge out of nearly everything, but there was too much headed his way. Flash hostile takeover play coming through, but a nice horn from Karis, of all people, to take down Jwei, and that'll be a couple quick pickups by WE from the mid lane.
I love the snap play right there from WE. You see Assume stood where he really shouldn't be. Now they're gonna go again, engage right here onto Care.
Yeah, they might actually find him. Seismic shove right back. Kara throwing some rocks, flinging some stones. Able to pull the rest of WE up, but now Shadow overextends and Monki takes him down. It'll be the trade back of both junglers. Sheer getting away with that one. Kara able to get the kill back, but what a play from WE. They just keep FPX right at bay.
Really do. Later on into this game, if they play out team fights like this, they are just going to lose. But Care has gone towards the Seraphs first. This build doesn't come online for a long time in this game. The amount of damage he could have done throughout this team fight later on, absolutely insane. This one, Assume just gets immediately killed. The funnier thing in this one is watching Jwei just get put in the bounce house at this point. He gets hit by the stolen Ornhorn and gets knocked up by Cube. There was nothing that you can do right there. But then this play, I can understand why WE think they can fully go in onto this one, but Care actually able to space this one out really well, and a great seismic shove back to nearly pick up the kill onto Karis. Would have been able to with just a couple more items under his belt.
And Shadow just one step too far, but Monki joining him right there. Jungle Brothers right there. And just as we go back into live, it is the next dragon started up by WE. This would be a stop of the stacking. Remember last time WE took this fight. Here comes the unstoppable onslaught. Lands on the 3. Cube is just causing a ruckus in the middle of everybody. CC chains from hell. Care not going to go down though. Big 3-man knockup from Sheer. Karis looking on the edge, looking for the Abscon abduct. Goes through, goes onto the back line. Now finding more. Assume already down now as well. WE starting to lose some health bars, but still keeping consistent. And Cube goes zombie mode. Sheer will not fall. FPX taken aback, and their stacking will be over. Drag it to WE.
If they want it. No, they want to go in. Monki.
Monki,
oh,
no. Oh, no. You could have had the dragon. You could have had it all. Taeyoon will get the shutdown on a Karis. That's 800 gold to Taeyoon, and that'll be worth it.
I'm really questioning the FPX decision making here. You know that your opponent's composition is at its strongest point right now and that yours takes a while longer to really be able to get online, and yet they are fighting incredibly aggressively at the moment. Not particularly for any reason. They're up 2 Drakes. You don't actually need to fight for this one. You don't need to be getting all of the Drakes immediately. And right now, it's just the amount of space that Cube is able to buy for the rest of his members to be able to do their damage in little bursts, right? Very short-range composition. You've got to find that angle. I love that engage right there from Karis. But in these choke point team fights where they're long and extended, at this point in the game, it's fine. Later on, Care is going to shred them.
Oh. We're looking at the picture-in-picture now, the live, as Shear's going low, but going to try to get the Ornhorn back from Karis, as now they go into the back line. Karis is going ham right now on the Silas, and WE, they're using that strength we called for them. The time is nigh, and they will wipe 4 from FPX in a massive series of plays, and the Dragon going their way.
And they can turn this one around into a mid lane tier 1, maybe even the Herald as well. WE, 2 items completed on their jungler and their ADC, and they press the go button. Care having to use the Weaver's Wall just to get into the mid lane to stop that one.
Taeyoon gonna cleanse out. That was close.
Yeah.
He did want to use the Killer Instinct over the worked ground there. And now Monki was getting a little bit low doing the Atacon. They need to be careful. If the resists are down now, and Monki's going to get chunked. He might just go down, try to survive, try to go back in. It's going to be close, but they do end up getting it, and the smite goes through. Atacon GAs for WE.
Atacon has hands at the moment, but let's have a look back at this play. It's just aggression here out of WE. They know that their composition is online now and just want to go fight. And it's really unfortunate whenever you see your own Ornhorn kind of be meh, but your opponent's stolen Call of the Forged God just absolutely wreck the team fight. It's bad positioning there out of FPX to clump themselves up when they know that it's going to be a stolen Ornhorn for Karis. And the second they get hit by that knock up 3 of the key members, there's no way they can win that fight.
It is very tough from that position for sure. And now we've seen a steady 3,000 gold lead for WE. Still have about a minute and 40 seconds on their Atacon GA. Some gold going back to FPX. Care has been the most consistent member here so far in this game, as has been the case, it feels like, for FPX as a whole. Their solo lanes were the big focus for us coming into this one, but now my big focus is WE using this Atacon GA to just be annoying.
Yeah.
And take as much gold on the map as they can as they take down another outer tower.
There's no point when you get these Atacon revives just throwing yourself at your opponents, because you're going to lose that fight. If it wasn't going to be a good fight beforehand, why would it be a good fight now? And you still give over 200 gold for every single one of these shutdowns that you can grab. So instead, use it to be aggressive towards standing gold on the map. Exactly what we're seeing WE do. They grab the outer turret in the mid lane. They're going to grab themselves the Rift Herald as well during this time. And sure, maybe you don't get to go win a massive fight at any point, but it's just a slow march towards victory. Exactly what you need to do as WE.
We are on 2 items for everybody now. That's going to be massive. Except for Vampire, unfortunately, for him. He is a support. But it is going to be close enough to 3 items completed now for Taeyoon. And that Kaisa is going to be massive. And I love it because Taeyoon kind of came out of nowhere to the LPL, obviously very known in the LCK Challenger scene, but it's been a blessing for WE to really find that kind of next generational carry for them at least.
And here, on these aggressive pickups like the Kaisa, I love watching him play this one. Has been hovering on the edges of these fights, has been pretty respectful so far. We haven't seen any of those crazy killer instincts into the backline that we always like to see, but so far, so good. Exactly what he really needed to be doing. and he's having a much better time of it overall than Asum is, especially because it is going to be this on-hit version of the virus. Watching Asum right now try to step up close enough to deal damage and get through the tanky front line of Vampire and Cube, but not step so close that he gets hit by the decimating smash and one-tapped is a really tough dance, and honestly, Asum hasn't been able to get that right so far.
Yeah, and that's where like Taeyoon's set up on the Kaisa, he's just better at all of the above in that situation, right? He can lay out poke, he can also have a lot of escapability with the killer instinct, and now we're going to be looking at a next dragon spawn in about a minute. Baron in 35. Doesn't feel like a situation where W want to kind of throw the game over the Baron, but Care.
Okay.
Okay,
surprised.
so both not knowing where anybody else was on the map definitely led to a little bit of ships in the night action.
Yeah, in that situation, I was like, Karis dead right here. But no, he's actually going to be able to get away with that one. And now has quite a lot of friends in the area if Karis were to try to step up and get involved. We've now got, what, 10 seconds until we're going to have this Baron up and available. Potentially the more interesting fight, though, is going to be around this Drake spawning. 20 seconds on that one. If you can pick yourself up Soul Point right here as FPX, that's just another bit of late game scaling that you can really look towards.
They're hoping to buy themselves some time. Sheer's going to start having these items come through the ornaments, and that's where things really start getting good for FPX. They can get to that scaling condition, but 3 items just about for everybody for Team WE. They also have the Rift Herald play available to them with Monki.
Yeah.
Dragon will end up going their way as well, slowly but sure. Oh my god, Monki, you've left Dragon twice now. I cannot believe you've done this. And he just flashes out. Oh my god, Monki, what is happening? Care gonna flash out himself away from Karis. And now Wreck into the front line goes Cube. A big unstoppable onslaught. Sheer with the re-engage. Monki in some trouble, but the double knock up there. Decimating smash is massive. Shadow's going to buy a lot of time with the Crescent Guard. Cube still has untouched with his gigantic health bar, but Monki being down will whittle down the options of WE.
What a mess of a fight right there. Nearly doesn't manage to actually pick up the Drake. Then has to insta-flash away from where his Grand Starfall takes him. I mean, this is kind of what we expected.
You have to
out of
expect that he told
FPX.
Taeyoon to take it there, right? Like you have, there has to have been some communication.
There's communication at this point. Even if it's panicked, wait, hang on, I'm not gonna finish it. Grab it,
No.
please. Please.
Okay, we don't see it. We don't see it. We don't see it. Thank you, observers. We don't have to see that again. We do have to see this part, though.
Insta-flash just feels so bad. Care managing to get that wall over her as well just makes it even worse for Monki. The re-engage right here is decent, but she actually is still allowed to get that second part of the Ornhorn off, and it just buys enough time for the return to kill to come through. And the fact that you managed to get the kill, as you said, onto Monki means there's nothing else you can really do as WE. You can't push your advantage any harder until your jungler's back up and available. They did grab the Drake, even if it was a little bit iffy, so they've now got themselves 2 apiece in terms of that. So the Baron going to be the main focus right here for both of these teams.
Let's see who's really willing to pull the trigger on that one. We have some decent leads developed by WE. Again, over 4,000 or just around 4,000 gold up over FPX. Both these teams steaming on streaks here. 2-win streak for WE, a 3-win streak for FPX. Looking to push that even more. Rift Herald getting spawned there. Must have been just a timeout, but WE already halving on the Baron. Shadow not confident to move forward into this composition. There's too much lockdown, and the Baron just going to go down to a 2-man job from Team WE.
And the teleport comes through right here from Care for nothing. Just completely wastes out onto that one. Rift Herald gets a charge onto the mid lane. And FPX, a team who recently have been looking so much better off of that win streak, so much better at being proactive, feel like they're just on the back foot right now and don't know how to get involved in this game.
Struggling to find their way in, but they won't struggle to find these upgrades. We are finally getting them through. Blade of the Rune King upgraded, as well as the Leandries. For Care, I guess. Sheer and Care, that makes sense. Honestly, that's the next superstar. Just combine the 2 names.
Oh, yeah.
They have been the superstars, though. I mean, maybe
Very
not
much.
as much in this game for this FPX team, but they have been the most consistent parts to this roster. And as time goes on, they will need to continue to do so here in this game, because game number 1 definitely slipping away from FPX a little bit. And after their early game stacking did go awry, WE looking to capitalize on Care, the man that we were just talking about, doesn't even get the turret either, and he will just fall in the side lane.
That is unfortunate. Still, on the return to base, has managed to get himself 3 items completed and another needlessly large rod, so just is going to be in a very strong position. And that's the thing, right? WE, yes, they're in control of this game. They're 7,000 gold up, but their composition overall doesn't scale as well. The saving grace very much going to be the fact that Cube is an absolute monster at the moment.
He is, and he picked it first. We needed a payoff as multiple tier 2 towers fall simultaneously for WE. All 3 of them almost at the exact same time. And Cube's first pick Scion paying off huge for WE. A very clear, stylized composition. And honestly, it's been down to that good execution from them, capitalizing on some of FPX's mistakes. Now Cube still has the unstoppable onslaught.
Really?
Flash in front of him, and they're committing everything to this man. He is an unstoppable beast, but finally he will be stopped. The red light comes up. Cube is forced into submission. Unfortunately for him, WE don't really get anything else on the map except for Karis looking for a little bit of vision on his bot side, but that will be FPX getting something.
I mean, flash on your on-hit Varus to
Hey, they
kill
at least
Cube.
got something, man.
If he gets the kill in that situation, so like maybe it's slightly better. They're also going to be able to pick up the objective bounty right here onto this top side. So again, this is a lot of gold that Assume's just got him for himself. But I'm going to be watching this flash timer like a hawk. Because if Assume gets one-tapped here by Karis or Monki or Taeyoon, or just gets hit by a vampire hook he could have otherwise avoided and dies, well, that's the majority of your team's gold and damage at this point. Just gone. Evaporated.
Yeah, I think there is some good moments available, but few and far between for sure. Hovering around like an 8,000-9,000 deficit for FPX now as well. 3 dragons taken as the next one had just been gotten by WE. That'll be 3 Chemtech dragons on their way to a Chemtech soul, so definitely going to be loving that stacking of the stats here. And FPX again just struggling to find a way in to this one. GA now completed for Monki, so he can play even more recklessly. We're almost on full build for Taeyoon as well on the Kaisa.
Alright, let's see, FPX, right?
God.
You gotta do something. That blast cone was nearly...
That was scary. That was real
not
scary.
Ideal. Yeah, we're slightly worried that we were about to watch one of the squishy members of FPX get punted straight into their demise. They've gone down pretty quickly at that point as well. We've got 1 minute 45 now until the Baron is going to be spawning, and the jungle has very much been owned by WE at this point. FPX basically just fully committed into sitting in their base at the moment, absorbing waves as much as they can. Yeah, the fact that one also was stolen away just increases how rough it is. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Insane.
Monkey diff. I don't know what to say. I mean, that's just a monkey diff. But no, it has been a nice little come up. I mean, if you take these performances off the back of that WBG win that they just had last night, I mean, it has been a wonderful performance from Monki, from Vampire as well. And obviously, Taeyoon has always been the best performer on the team, but it's finally nice to see some other members kind of stepping up to the plate as well.
Absolutely, WE in full control of this game. They now just need to convert this early game lead that they've been able to get themselves into this victory, something they have struggled with a little bit. This team has been okay at getting leads, but closing games out has been a little bit rough. And I do need to be careful. FPX have scaled at this point. You can see 2 needlessly large rods in the inventory of Care. Once he turns that into a death cap, he is going to be mauling people.
And they've gotten upgrades across the table except for Jwei, but maybe this is the time. WE just want to go for the engage. They are missing everything. Grand Starfall coming in. They target onto Jwei. Jwei is being focused down by Monki. He's going to fall to the bailout now. Horn coming through from Karis as they do end up getting that counter engage. Spear coming across the wall, but FPX starting to find some tussle, starting to find some fight. Taeyoon blasting over the wall, goes golden. Maybe he's going to go down now. Karis going over to save his life as well. Karis picking up the slack where they needed. Taeyoon might have fallen, but WE are still strong together, and they're TPing in the mid lane. They're looking for the finish, and they're looking for this game 1 win.
Yeah, going to be 30 seconds, 40 seconds until anybody important is going to be back up and available. FPX, they tried to hold out. They were so close to getting that scaling through, but WE, they win the mid game, and they're going to pick this one up right here.
What a spree from this team. We were asking, is FPX going to be the better of the streaking teams? They've had the harder opponents. They've defeated some big names in this one, but WE are looking to make their own spree of things as they take down game 1 over FPX, and truly has been a huge come up from Monki, Taeyoon, and Vampire.
Absolutely, and I think Monki specifically has been looking so good on these aggressive jungle picks. His Skarner has been sick, but the Pantheon, I think, is beginning to get into this category as well, of the sorts of champions you just can't be affording to give over to the guy. They love playing these early game compositions out, and in this game, yeah, the first 7 minutes or so were a little bit rough, but the second that they were able to get those 2 items completed, the breakpoint we were talking about, they never look back.
Yeah, and we'll forgive him for some of those ults away from the Dragon Pits. It's fine. Never happened if you get the win. The winner gets to write the history books, so that's all that really matters. But not only that, I think it's the subtle things that happen here because it is fearless, because anything that you pick is not available. It was the steal away from a tried and true composition from FPX in the Pantheon and this Kaisa, and the fact that they were able to take those, get the win on it as well on this blue side feels really good for the momentum of WE. And I think for FPX, you'll be scratching your heads a little bit about what went wrong. The scaling condition didn't happen fast enough.
It took way too long to be able to actually get to those breakpoints. I mean, 4 items were, in the end, completed onto the Varus, so close to having that death cap completed, but they were constantly fighting into these little choke points that, yeah, are technically good for your composition in a Ornn can knock lots of people up way, but is also very good for your opponents. And I think, genuinely, if I'm looking at one thing that broke this game open, it's the first thing we saw. It's that Sion B1. That having so much health, so much frontline, Cube was just buying so much space for his carries to be able to do their thing. And when you've got these aggressive compositions that are trying to dive into the backline, weave their way through fights, just having a stalwart tank that can stand there and absorb damage, so important.
And even if you miss some of those unstoppable onslaughts, just throwing his body into the backline in a lot of those situations. I mean, he was just a menace. And I remember the one around the Dragon Pit when he just got into all 4, popped the bubble as well, just getting massive damage. So a worthy B1 pick of the Sion. And those are the kinds of things, especially at this level of team in WE and FPX, that you need to see. They have a very tried strategy. They execute it well. And even with some of those early game slip-ups, still able to handle business.
And they really needed to in this game. We were talking a lot about how FPX were coming in as the hotter team, looking like they'd been able to beat the better opponents. But hey, you can only play the people who are in front of you on the schedule. And WE, they've been able to do what they needed to. They've been able to stand on business in their previous 2 matchups. And now, looking good so far in this FPX matchup. The only thing is, it's a very unique kind of composition with the all-in potential of WE right here. I don't know how repeatable it is. You can find some of the pieces, but honestly, it's the Kaisa that's the linchpin here. You don't have any other ADCs that can really play this full all-in kind of composition anywhere near as well. And WE, they've looked really good on these aggressive comps. They've not looked quite so good on the more standard front to back, so we'll see if they're going to be able to find another interesting comp for themselves in game number 2.
The best defense is a good offense.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they just get 4 carries in a tank and see what happens.
Yeah.
But I just, it's incredible to see this Team WE squad function. Again, they are rounding out the back half, the last series in their first round robin. They still have another entire round robin to go. But to end this round robin on a 3-0, if they are to take this win over FPX, huge. I mean, that's an incredible statement to have going into kind of a refresh into your next 9 series played.
this is what I was saying. Care does so much damage in this game, but I would love to see how much of that was just put straight into Cube. And that's fine.
Probably a lot.
That's fine in this situation. This is the thing, right, with having yourself a big tanky Scion, and then your opponent's main carries are a Talia and a on-hit Varus. They can only hit what's in front of them, and what was in front of them was a 6,000 HP Scion at every point in this game.
Yeah.
It meant that they were never actually able to deal the main damage. The couple of fights that we actually ended up seeing won right here for FPX were because there were huge seismic shoves coming through to stop it from being a straight up front to back that they were trying to play out. Just really impressive from Cube overall, and it was nice to see them be able to execute well onto these kind of compositions. I think if we were watching this matchup, but 2.5 weeks ago, WE just weren't able to execute on compositions, even ones that had very clear win conditions. They just couldn't get it together in that way.
And I will just say, like, Sheer on JDG, he did go for the tanks sometimes. He did go for the Orns. Looking back, hindsight's always 2020.
Yeah.
But I would have loved to see Sheer on more of a playmaking ability. I think the Orn is massive. The scaling, awesome. But if he could have had the counter to what Cube is doing and pressure the backline, find entrances his own right, I think he has been a massive carry for the side of FPX. So if we're looking a little introspective to FPX, definitely doesn't feel like they set up the tools that have been successful for them with the most successful bits. But that does mean that it is going to have to be a comeback season for FPX in this series because WE take that step forward.
Indeed. But hey, we've seen FPX, they were able to go down 0-3, 0-4, then they're able to pick up wins. You know, this team has resilience. They've shown that they're able to fight their way back into these.
Yeah, they do indeed. Now we got to think who gets MVP for this one as well, because I think that's a little bit more difficult for me to handle here because we had a lot of good performances. I think Monki maybe deserves it. I think some of those ults maybe pull that back a little bit. I don't know.
Monki was very much the driving force of this team, as he often is, and I think in the end, a lot of those engages worked out great. At the same time, he was still showing a couple flashes of that over-aggressive look overall. My bet would be between Cube and Karis right here. I think Karis had a really good performance. It was just solid overall, and I think the main thing, when you're talking about Sheer and his decent performance on the Ornn, well, every single big Ornn that I watched was a Karis Ornn, not a Sheer one. I think that was just a big part of why they were able to find success. This Silas was a great look.
Yeah, I think it was, and crucial pick in that setup to just steal away a lot of the engaged potential that FPX were looking for. And honestly, it still is for me the Taeyoon show. I think he had so much to say in this one on the Kaisa. Even if maybe we get the MVP to some other impactful members, I still think that this guy has been heads and above the rest of his teammates, and finally getting to be joined by the teammates feels really good. But I do wonder who we're going to be giving that MVP to. Maybe it's the Scion. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe Wild World. Okay, who's it going to be? It is the Scion. B1 Scion, you get MVPs. That's the tried and true strat for WE.
I'm very, very happy with that, because Monki, Karis, and Taeyoon, they have the flashy stat lines, but Cube was just a wall. I always find it really interesting when we get a tank top laner or a tank support, and they give you the stats of, like, his damage percentage. No, how much damage did he take? How many resistances did he have at the end of the game? That's the things I want to know right here. I very much agree with him being given the MVP right here. Without this tanky Scion, the composition does not work.
Yeah. And that being said, that is it for game number 1 here. Team W taking the 1-0 lead. And that does mean before we get going, we got to talk about coffee, because everybody knows that's what we're all here for. We're extremely grateful to our coffee and YouTube subscribers who help us level up the show on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, and every time we get to go on. We get to see the influences of that with the graphics packages that we have, being able to pay on-air talent and behind-the-scenes talent as well. So all of it goes to helping the product that we give to you on a daily basis. So subscribe to our coffee. It'll be linked in chat. You can unlock perks like giving interview questions to our future content, but as well as getting early access to that content. So make sure you go give us some love. And we appreciate everybody that's always been giving to us. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you